When my sister said she was hosting a family dinner, I thought she meant it. What she really meant was that she wanted an audience to humiliate me. Because when I arrived dressed up, holding a small gift, trying to be part of the family, again she pointed to the far corner of the restaurant and said, "You can sit there with the kids." Everyone laughed. Everyone but me, but by the end of the night, when the restaurant owner walked in, it was her laughter that stopped first. My sister, Chloe, had always been the golden one. Perfect hair, perfect smile, perfect job. She was the family's shining example of what success was supposed to look like. I was the opposite, laid off twice. Recently divorced, living in a small apartment I could barely afford. So, when Chloe invited me to this family dinner, I thought maybe things were changing. Maybe she wanted to reconnect. The restaurant was one of those upscale places with candlelit tables and glass walls that overlooked the city. I arrived a few minutes early, wearing my best outfits, simple, clean, modest. I'd even saved up to get my hair done when I walked in. Chloe waved from across the room, surrounded by family and a few friends. Her voice carried easily across the noise. "Oh, look who made it." She actually came. The table burst into polite laughter. I forced a smile and walked over, clutching the small box in my hands, a framed photo of us as kids, something I thought she'd appreciate. But before I could sit down, she turned to the waiter. "Could you bring another chair?" "Actually, no. Just seat her over there." She pointed toward a smaller round table at the corner, covered in crayons, Hafferton fries, and juice boxes. 3 little cousins sat there, playing on tablets. "Seriously?" I whispered. Chloe smiled sweetly. "We ran out of room." "You don't mind, right? You're good with kids." I heard the laughter again. My father shook his head, muttering something about immaturity. And my mother just smiled awkwardly, as if she didn't see what was happening. So I sat down at the kids' table. The waiters kept bringing food to the main table, expensive dishes, wine, desserts. At my table, chicken fingers and fries. The kids didn't even look up. But I sat there quietly, listening to them toast to Chloe's new promotion, how she'd worked her way up from nothing. The irony almost made me laugh. Because what none of them knew was that the owner of this restaurant was someone who did know me very well. I sat there, pretending to focus on the kids coloring their menus, but really, I was listening. The laughter from the main table got louder with every drink poured. My sister's voice sharp, proud, theatrical across the restaurant. "It's been such a long year," she said, lifting her glass. "But I couldn't have done it without everyone here, especially my incredible family." A chorus of clinks followed. My father's booming laugh filled the air, and Mum smiled her perfect, practiced smile. I stayed quiet, staring at the tablecloth stained with ketchup. Every word Chloe said felt like a subtle jab, a reminder that she had everything I didn't. Then I heard her say my name, and, of course, my little sister, who's finally getting back on her feet. Everyone turned to look at me. My fork froze mid-air. I'm so proud she could make it tonight. She's had a rough couple of years, bless her heart. There it was. The pity tone. The "let's clap for the broken one" act. They chuckled, and I felt my cheeks burn. I forced a smile and said softly, "Thanks, Chloe." She grinned, satisfied, then turned to her friend beside her. "You remember, I told you about her ex, right? The one who the laughter that followed was like nails on glass." I wanted to disappear. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and write in the comments about which country you're watching this video from. Enjoy the story. Just then, a deep, familiar voice came from the entrance. "Chloe, I didn't know you were dining here tonight." Every head turned. Standing there, in a crisp black suit, was Ethan, the restaurant's owner. My stomach tightened, because Ethan wasn't just the owner, he was my ex-husband. He looked different now, older, more confident, but the sharp glint in his eyes was the same. Chloe nearly choked on her drink. "Ethan, oh my God, hi," she gushed, her voice going syrupy sweet. "I didn't realize this was your restaurant." He smiled politely, but his gaze shifted past her straight to me. "Anna." The table fell silent. My father frowned. You two know each other. Chloe looked between us, confusion flickering in her expression. Then something else, realization. I took a slow breath. Yeah, I said quietly. We used to. Ethan stepped closer. You didn't tell me you were coming tonight. My sister's eyes darted between us. White you invited her. He chuckled lightly. No, I didn't invite her. But she's always welcome here. Then he turned to the waiter. Move Ms. Reynolds to the main table, please. And bring her, the chef's special on the house. The shock that hit my sister's face was priceless, but the night was just beginning, because Ethan had one more surprise in store. The waiter hurried over, flustered, clearing a space at the main table. Everyone watched as I stood up from the kids' corner and walked over. My heart pounded, but I kept my chin high. Ethan pulled out the empty chair beside him. The one Chloe had conveniently left open for her best friend, who never showed up. Please, sit, he said, smiling softly. You don't belong over there. I could almost feel Chloe's fury radiating from across the table. Her fingers gripped her wineglass so tightly, I thought it might crack. Dad looked between us, his confusion obvious. So, you two know each other how, exactly? Ethan leaned back casually. Anna and I used to be married, a long time ago. The table went still. Even the waiter froze for a second. Mum blinked. You never mentioned that? Chloe forced a laugh, trying to recover. Wow, this is awkward. Ethan smiled, completely calm. Not at all. Anna and I ended things respectfully. She helped me through the hardest years of my life before this place even existed. He glanced around the restaurant. Honestly, I wouldn't be standing here if it weren't for her. My chest tightened. I hadn't expected that. He didn't owe me anything, not after how things ended. But hearing him say that, it meant more than I wanted to admit. Chloe, though, couldn't let it go. Well, she's really moved on too, she said, with that fake sweet tone that made everyone nervous. She's doing great, right, Anna? Still working those part-time jobs? Her friends snickered, but Ethan didn't miss a beat. Actually, he said evenly, I heard she just got promoted, senior project coordinator at Willow and Tate, right? The whole table fell silent again. My father turned to me, stunned. Is that true? I nodded. Yeah, I didn't want to make a big deal about it. Ethan raised his glass. You should. Hard work deserves to be celebrated. Chloe's jaw tightened, her perfect smile cracking at the edges. Just then, a man in a dark blazer approached the table, a middle-aged guest I hadn't seen before. He extended a hand toward Ethan. Sorry to interrupt, but everything's ready for your announcement. Chloe perked up immediately. Announcement. Ethan smiled mysteriously. Yes, something important. He stood and clinked his glass. Everyone, thank you for joining us tonight. I wasn't planning to make this public yet, but since so many people I care about are here, it feels right. The restaurant dimmed slightly as servers appeared with champagne flutes. My sister looked thrilled again, certain the spotlight was drifting back to her. But when Ethan placed a hand on my shoulder and said, I'd like to introduce my new business partner, the air in the room shifted completely, and my sister's glass slipped from her hand, shattering against the marble floor. The sound of shattering glass echoed through the restaurant. Every head turned. Chloe froze, her hand trembling, red wine dripping onto the pristine white tablecloth. Why your business partner? She stammered, staring at Ethan, then at me. You mean her? Ethan smiled calmly, slipping one hand into his pocket. Yes, Anna and I signed the partnership agreement last week. She'll be overseeing the new community branch we're opening downtown. Murmurs rippled across the table. My father's brows furrowed in confusion. Wait, you? You're in business now. I took a slow breath. I've been consulting for Ethan's restaurant group for the last 6 months. We decided to expand together. Chloe blinked rapidly, her voice rising. But, you never mentioned any of this. I thought you were still struggling. I finished softly. That's what you wanted to believe. She flinched. Ethan poured me a glass of champagne, his tone, even but sharp. Anna has been one of the driving forces behind the restaurant's success this year. She's built partnerships I couldn't have managed on my own. My father shifted uncomfortably. My mother gave a small, hesitant smile, the kind of smile she used when she didn't know which side to stand on. But Chloe, her perfect composure was cracking like glass. She forced a laugh. "Oh wow, this is unexpected. I guess everyone's full of surprises tonight." Ethan tilted his head. You could say that he raised his glass again. To growth. 2 second chances. And to people who never stop fighting for themselves, no matter who tries to hold them back. The toast stung her like a slapdot. As the clinking of glasses filled the air, Chloe leaned closer to me, her voice a venomous whisper. "You knew he owned this place, didn't you? That's why you came." I met her glare steadily. "No, I came because you invited me. But now that I'm here..." "I'm glad you did." Her eyes narrowed. "You think you've won tonight?" I smiled faintly. "No, I just stopped losing." Dinner carried on awkwardly after that. The laughter returned, but it felt hollow now. Ethan excused himself to greet guests, leaving me surrounded by relatives who suddenly remembered how to be polite. Then, as I stood to leave, Chloe grabbed my arm. "You embarrassed me," she hissed. "In front of everyone? You'll regret this." I gently pried her hand away. "You did that to yourself, Chloe." And as I walked toward the exit, the entire restaurant seemed to quiet again. The manager whispered something to a server, then nodded toward me with respect. That's when I noticed. My name was printed neatly on the restaurant's event board by the door. Dinner hosted by Ethan Cole and Anna Reynolds. The color drained from Chloe's face as she saw it too. But what neither of us knew yet was that the real twist of the night was still waiting outside. The night air outside the restaurant was cool and sharp, the kind that carried every sound. I paused by the glass doors, feeling a strange mixture of relief and tension. Inside, laughter resumed fake, forced, desperate to patch over the cracks. Chloe followed me out moments later, her heels clacking against the stone path. "You think this changes anything?" she said, crossing her arms. "So, you got lucky. That doesn't erase who you are." I turned to face her, calm now. "And who's that, Chloe?" "The scroop you love to parade as your contrast." Her jaw tightened. "You humiliated me." I shook my head. "No, Chloe. You humiliated yourself. You just didn't expect anyone to see it." She scoffed. "Please. You and Ethan, this little reunion, it's just a pity project. He feels sorry for you." A voice came from behind her. "Actually," Ethan said, stepping through the doorway, "I don't." Chloe stiffened. Ethan walked closer, his tone steady but cold. "You know, I used to think you were just proud of your sister, but tonight, I realized you were threatened by her. You've spent years trying to make her small so you could stay big." Her lips parted, but no words came out. He continued. "When Anna helped me start my first business, she invested more than money. She believed in something I didn't even believe in myself, and she walked away without taking credit. That's not weakness. That's strength." For once, Chloe didn't have a comeback. She just stood there, trembling. Then, a silver car pulled up to the curb. My father stepped out. Mum was behind him, her expression unreadable. He looked at Chloe first. "I just spoke with the manager," he said quietly. "He told me tonight's event, the reservation, the funding it was Anna's idea." Chloe's face went pale. "Dad, but he held up a hand. "Enough," he turned to me. "I misjudged you again. I'm sorry." It was strange hearing those words, after years of never hearing them at all. I nodded slowly. "Thank you, Dad, but I didn't do this for an apology." He gave a small nod of understanding, as the night wound down. Ethan and I stood side by side, watching the city lights. He smiled faintly. "You handled that better than I would have." I laughed softly. "I've had practice," then he said. "You know, I wasn't planning to announce our partnership tonight. But maybe it was meant to happen this way." I looked back through the restaurant window at my family sitting quietly now, stripped of the smugness that used to define them. "Yeah," I said. Maybe it was later, as I drove home. The memory of that night replayed in flashes: Chloe's frozen smile, Dad's apology, Ethan's toast, but one image stayed with me the most. That little table in the corner where I'd started the evening, surrounded by half-eaten fries and crayons. The same table I'd once been forced to sit at, and now, it felt like a symbol of something else, where I'd come from, and how far I'd climbed up. Because sometimes, the people who try hardest to keep you small, end up watching from below when you finally rise.